Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. President Duda has signed what is known as the windmill law. This is one of the milestones that Poland must meet in order to receive money from the National Recovery Plan. Wind turbines, according to the new legislation, will be built not less than 700 metres from buildings. This is one of many elements of Poland's energy transition. An amendment to the windmill law liberalises the 10H rule, according to which the distance from buildings had to be 10 times the maximum height of the turbine. Initially, the distance was to be reduced to 500 metres, but Parliament eventually decided on 700 metres. This is obviously a step in the right direction. On the other hand, it is a pity that it is not 500 metres. It is a pity that the United Right blocked this construction with the 2016 law. It is good that Law and Justice has submitted an amendment to increase the distance from households from 500 to 700 metres. Solidarity Poland voted for this amendment. There was another amendment, ours, going as far as to make this distance 1,000 metres. Since the outbreak of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Putin has been using energy blackmail, which has contributed to the deepening crisis in Europe. As part of his pursuit of an international offensive, Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki will meet the Prime Minister of Latvia tomorrow. The topic of the talks is expected to include energy security. There are always discussions regarding the stabilisation of energy prices, how to bring this about, how to reduce the level of inflation, and all the economic topics that are important to Polish citizens, which we will be able to address so much more effectively if we can act in a coordinated way on international markets. Construction of Poland's first nuclear power plant is expected to begin in just 3 years. If everything goes according to plan, the first 3 reactors will enter into operation as early as 2033. The United States company Westinghouse will be responsible for the construction. I, for one, am a big supporter of building nuclear power. As for renewable energy sources, the government of Law and Justice and Solidarna Polska invested gigantic funds in renewable energy sources and photovoltaics, and there was also a certain political consensus on offshore windmills. At the end of October last year, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of State Assets, Jacek Sasin, signed letters of intent in sale for the construction of a nuclear power plant in Pantnów, in Wielkopolska province. A solid foundation is needed in the electric power system. Renewable energy cannot provide it. If it is to be clean energy, it must be nuclear energy, if not coal. Nuclear power plants operate around the world in 32 countries, from Argentina to Europe, all the way to South Korea. According to an analysis by the International Atomic Energy Agency, nuclear power is more beneficial to the economy than investing in coal and gas. However, the positive economic effects of building such a power plant will have to wait. The cost of CO2 emissions has risen very sharply, while we have a very small increase in power generation that does not generate CO2 emissions, which is related to the fact that Poland's power industry, which is 70% coal-based, pays additional costs associated with its operations. Therefore, energy prices, if we are talking about energy transition, will certainly not fall in the coming years. However, we can expect increases. According to the company Polish Nuclear Power Plants, there are currently 133 operating nuclear reactors throughout Europe. Day 384 of the war in Ukraine. This morning, the Russians launched an attack on Kramatorsk. Missiles fell on civilian buildings and a kindergarten. At least 9 people were killed in the attack. Today, Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba announced that 2 more countries have joined a coalition to establish a special tribunal for crimes of aggression in Ukraine. Currently, 32 countries are working together to hold Russia's top leadership criminally accountable.
The attack on Kramatorsk is part of Russian tactics to capture Bakhmut. The occupiers are pushing near Kupiansk and Liman to cut off the city from the north. Despite numerous attacks, the Ukrainian armed forces are holding their positions. Protecting freedom. Ukraine, Europe, and the rest of the world will be effective if our military actions are coordinated with the system of international sanctions against Russia. On many fronts right now, battles are being fought for our future. Recent Russian missile attacks have worsened the situation in the energy sector. Despite limited generation capacity, we are meeting our country's energy needs. Russia's defense ministry may be deliberately delaying the delivery of ammunition and weapons to Wagner Group troops fighting in Bakhmut to reduce public support for its founder, Yevgeny Prigozhin, according to a recent report by the American Institute for War Studies. According to experts, the arrival of spring will further stabilize the situation on the front. Climate considerations influence the fact that the front is currently stable. Neither side has the forces to break it. In Donbass, Ukrainian rescue teams evacuate the wounded from the battlefield. Our task is to stabilize the condition of the wounded. Conditions are difficult because the ambulances have been formed from vans. Before the wounded are taken to the hospital, they must be treated immediately. We bandage their wounds, apply tourniquets, administer painkillers, and clean their wounds while the patient goes to the field hospital. Last year, the Ukrainian and Russian governments, thanks to mediation by Turkey and the UN, concluded a grain agreement. The agreement allows Ukrainian food and fertilizer exports from Black Sea ports. The agreement expires on the 18th of March. Yesterday, the Russian Foreign Ministry said the agreement would be extended by 60 days. However, the government in Kyiv does not agree and is demanding a 4-month extension.
Obie strony stosują miny morskie, które mają teoretycznie zablokować możliwość działań morskich.
Both sides use sea mines to theoretically block the possibility of naval action. They effectively prevent navigation between the Black Sea ports and the exit from the Black Sea through the Turkish Straits. During the last months of the conflict, we have already seen several times that these sea mines, broken from anchor chains, drifted on the sea, posing a great danger to any ships.
Duże zagrożenie dla wszelkich statków.
Choćby dlatego, żeby Ukrainie zaszkodzić.
If only to hurt Ukraine politically and economically, that is in terms of finances and payment for grain, and politically to show that the Kremlin is the one that gets to decide the terms, not Ukraine.
Kreml ma decydować o warunkach.
Kyiv has been calling for the delivery of multi-role aircraft for quite some time. Today at a press conference, Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki announced that a possible transfer of MiG-29 aircraft for Ukraine could take place in the next few weeks. President Andrzej Duda also spoke about this generation of fighters last week. On the other hand, modern American F-35 aircraft will soon appear in Polish hangars, with the first delivery expected next year.
The leaders of the United States, Australia and the United Kingdom unveiled details of a plan to provide Australia with nuclear-powered attack submarines, a major step to counter China's ambitions in the Indo-Pacific region. The leaders of the three countries met on Monday in San Diego, California. In a joint statement at the United States Naval Base in San Diego, California, principal home port of the United States Pacific Fleet, US President Joe Biden, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak endorsed plans for the so-called AUKUS project, first announced in 2021.
So today, as we stand at the inflection point in history where the hard work of enhancing deterrence and promoting stability is going to affect the prospect of peace for decades to come, the United States can ask for no better partners in the Indo-Pacific, where so much of our shared future will be written. And I want to be clear. I want to be clear to everyone from the outset, right off the bat, so there's no confusion or misunderstanding on this critical point. These subs are powered, not nuclear-armed subs. They're nuclear-powered, not nuclear-armed. Australia is a proud non-nuclear weapon state and is committed to stay that way. These boats will not have any nuclear weapons of any kind on them.
We are bound, above all, by our belief in a world where the sovereignty of every nation is respected and the inherent dignity of every individual is upheld, where peace, stability and security ensure greater prosperity and a greater measure of fairness for all, and where all countries are able to act in their sovereign interests, free from coercion.
Faced with this new reality, it is more important than ever that we strengthen the resilience of our own countries. That's why the UK is today announcing a significant uplift in our defence budget. We're providing an extra £5 billion over the next 2 years, immediately increasing our defence budget to around 2.25% of GDP. This will allow us to replenish our war stocks and modernise our nuclear enterprise, delivering AUKUS and strengthening our deterrent.
Under the deal, the United States intends to sell Australia 3 US Virginia-class nuclear-powered submarines, which are built by General Dynamics in the early 2030s, with an option to buy 2 more if needed, the joint statement said. The statement from the leaders said the multi-stage project would culminate with British and Australian production and operation of a new class of submarines SSN AUKUS, a trilaterally developed vessel based on Britain's next-generation design, which will be built in Great Britain and Australia and include cutting-edge US technology. Great Britain will take delivery of the first SN AUKUS submarine in the late 2030s, and Australia would receive its first in the early 2040s. Albanese in the British statement said. The vessels will be built by BAE Systems and Rolls-Royce, the British statement said. The agreement will also see United States and British submarines deployed in Western Australia to help train Australian crews and bolster deterrence, a senior US official said. The joint statement also said that the United States and Great Britain will begin these rotational deployments as soon as 2027, and the official said this would increase to 4 US submarines and 1 British within a few years. Tourists are journeying to an elephant camp in India's southern Nilgiris district to see the star of The Elephant Whisperers, which won the award for Best Documentary Short Film at the Oscars on Sunday.
Baby elephant Raghu plays a leading role in the 2022 documentary, which tells the story of an Indian couple who adopt an elephant and care for him.
We came to visit the elephants and then we found out that 2 of them, Bhumi and Raghu, won the Oscar last night, so it's very fortunate that we were able to see them here. So a good experience.
We are from Bangalore. We heard about the Oscar award-winning elephant, and so we have come here to Madumalai camp, reserve camp, where we've seen the Raghu, the Oscar-winning elephant, and Bobby, the other elephant, which is also an amazing one. So this one you can see in the background, the cute one, very cute. You just fall in love with it.
The Elephant Whisperers was not the only Indian film to win at the Oscars on Sunday night. Natu Natu, the breakout hit from the action movie RRR, won the Academy Awards for Best Original Song. Indians had won Oscars previously, but no Indian film had won an Academy Award before Sunday night in Los Angeles.
That's it. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.